Welcome to Earth Heart Network News, a new kind of news connecting people, issues, and ideas from the heart. Welcome. My name is Lisa Almaraz, your host and producer of Earth Heart Network News, and we've got an interesting program this week. This is our Halloween edition, so we have a wonderful artist who will be our guest today. She does incredible art, from pottery to fabric art to face painting and even different work as characters and different things. So Matilda Tanner is our special guest today. We'll be checking in with her in just a little while. And of course, we'll have Living and Loving with Don Boone, who will be here later on in the show to share his great joy and wisdom, talking about the source of happiness from within. And our conversation with Matilda and our top story today is talking about, well, one of our main news top stories is regarding food and some developments with local food legislation that's going on, various things we've been covering over the last few weeks we want to recap. But today we're going to be looking at creative spirit and art as food for the soul, and looking at that expression, the act of creative expression, when we actually create from our passion, our truth, our heart, like we say in the Earth Heart Pledge, then we actually are creating an exercise, like a muscle, a way for our soul and our embodiment to grow and actually develop when we exercise that creative spirit. So Matilda really embodies that creative spirit here today, so we'll be talking with her about that. And first, as always at the beginning, I want to share with you the Earth Heart Network Pledge. It's a pledge I invite you to take to heart. Share it first with yourself, and possibly if you're inspired, share it with others. And it goes like this: I trust my heart. I know my truth. I live my passion to the fullest. I honor my connection to the world and everyone in it in the spirit of love. And that love is living our values every day. So what do you value? What is your passion, your truth? What is it that inspires you, that gets you ready to get back out in your community, get involved in things that matter to you? You know, there's plenty of opportunities to be apathetic, to tune out with food, multimedia, zillions of things, of channels that are options to tune out. But when you tune in and you listen to your own heart, your own truth, and your own passion, then it's a whole new way of life. You actually can live that connection, connecting those food choices like we were talking about, connecting your relationships that you're in your life, looking at things on a personal and planetary level, how you're connecting and is that healthy. One of the things in our pre-talk with Matilda earlier, we were talking about if you're doing something and it hurts, maybe you're not doing it right, and in many different things. If you're doing something and injuring yourself, well, maybe you should adjust how you're doing it, including art or any other thing, or even just in life in general. So where is it not feeling so good? Where could it improve? Where can we bring that light and that inspiration to create? So we'll talk about that. Overall, though, in a local to global news overview for Earth Heart Network News today for October 28th, and this is a live program now, but later it will be reshown. So, of course, we love that you'll be listening later on. Talking about food, now we're transitioning. Our great harvest time has come in, and as we move into the later part of October here, our peak week of fall color actually happening just about a few days, almost a week later, coming into fall. So still lots of peak colors out there, just moving toward Halloween though, and it's just slightly toning down here and there, but still plenty of fall color. Not the early peak we've seen over the last couple of years here and there. We have had some rain locally, but peaks colors are still happening wonderfully. So get out there, make that point, and play tourist when you're here, because sometimes we get so busy living in the mountains and surrounded by the beauty, we forget to actually go out and enjoy a little bit. So find those out of the way places that you may know about locally, and do get out there, still enjoying lots of fall color. From the Appalachian Sustainable Agriculture Project, looking on their website, a wonderful local and sustainable agriculture organization. Like to be actually featuring more from them coming up in new episodes of Earth Heart Network News regarding food, sustainable agriculture, local organic food production, creating local and sustainable networks of food all the way from growing to delivery, and really helping people make healthy local food choices. 100 years ago, everything was pretty much organic, and people had even the most basic choices were still pretty good choices. But now with our various kinds of food that are commercially grown, making healthy food choices costs a lot more. And sometimes we need to make inroads toward developing those healthy food networks, and that's what Appalachian Sustainable Agriculture is all about, doing that in schools with their Growing Minds program, doing it with our local food guide. There's even a local food guide for kids. Don't know if you've been on the farm tour, but the local farm tour in the summer is one of my very favorite events in the mountains. So lots of great stuff with ASAP we're going to have coming up. But I just want to feature now with their latest news release this week. October, many locally grown vegetables will be disappearing from farmers markets and grocery store shelves, but not greens. You can still make healthy choices. You know, we don't have to give in to this idea of flu season or disease season. We can continue to make healthy choices, eating well over summer, still getting nice amounts of sun, water, fresh air, as we were talking about in earlier Earth Heart Network news programs, making sure your air at home is hydrated. How many people get the chill of winter and fall coming in, they crank up the heat, dry out the air, the poor little lung linings get all dry, and next thing you know, we're attracting disease in our lungs. So we can make these better choices, keeping that air hydrated, eating the greens, and we're talking about everything from beet greens locally, chard, collards, kale, so many of these wonderful greens that are very health-giving, grow wonderfully in the mountains, even during the fall gardening season and many times even over winter. A few cold boxes involved, and you've got great greens over winter. There's even a special program you can find out about locally, another nonprofit I know about called the Winter Green Program. Pat Hinckley leads that up, and that's for seniors to have greens growing organically over the season. So lots of great local food choices and opportunities this winter. Remember, eating healthy is what keeps you healthy over the winter. And we'd like to remind you about there's lots of local food campaign going on. There's even a new group that will be providing local organic food here over the winter all year long at a local store. It's Asheville Local Food Project or something. I'm going to get all the details on that, but I just heard about that. Very exciting. And all this month, you can find local foods featured in restaurants. The ASAP Connection is bringing that local food right into the restaurants. So remember to get access to that here on a local level. Of course, we bring things from the local back out to the planetary, and lots going on in food around the world right now. Actually, coming up, published this Monday by The Guardian in the UK, there's a bit of a global food crisis looming with prices reaching record highs. Cost of meat, sugar, rice, wheat, and maize stocks have soared as World Bank predicts a 5-year of price volatility wave coming up. So actually, these rising food prices and shortages, you know, we'll be having some instability coming into several countries due to these patterns as they unfold. And the cost of staple goods and vegetables have reached their highest level lately in 2 years. So, you know, farm families that live out in very, you know, rural conditions like India and different countries, they're seeing 17 to 20% price increases. And around the world, this kind of instability, when you get basic food stores threatened, actually is the point where they just can't eat. So the levels actually do create that instability, the population's not having access to basic staple foods. But just in the last few weeks, 30% has increased in prices for global wheat and maize prices. So food volatility around the world, to me, is just one more reason to plant your local garden. Get out there, get involved. If it's something, you know, a garden is a huge amount of work. Believe me, I know. I'm an insane gardener, and I know sometimes it's too much for somebody, and you'd love to have that garden, but you just really cannot fathom doing that amount of work, and, you know, who wants to when you're just by yourself? So get with a community-supported agriculture farm, or get with a local neighborhood. Maybe someone has a nice field that's tillable and arable, and plant some good organic heirloom seeds. So get your own local garden going. And if you'd like to get involved, I know the Bountiful Cities Project has a garden here. And even in the winter time, sometimes we overlook that. You can get involved in maintaining the garden over winter. I haven't gotten to check that out personally, but I know they may have some winter gardening going on there too. So there's always ways to connect locally with growing food, even over the winter time. So that is the local to global news overview. And I was planning to try to get some local food guests, and I, you know, went through it, and I was talking with Matilda Tanner, upcoming guest, and I thought, you know, food is one thing, and food choices are so paramount every single day. It's one of the most important choices you can make, what you eat on a day-to-day, minute-to-minute, hour-to-hour basis. It totally affects your body's ability to metabolize and have all of its processes go on in a healthy or unhealthy manner. So food is really important. And we're going to have upcoming features where we will get in more detail about literal food that you eat physically. But we've had a shift for this week, and being the Halloween version of our program, looking at all of the enjoyment of the various expressions of creativity that come this time of year with people costuming, dressing, enjoying that creative spirit. And so our interview today, our main guest is going to be looking as art as food for the soul and the creative spirit. It's expressing itself as a means of growth and a way of living from your heart passionately. And so with that, I'd like to begin an introduction of our special guest today. Her name is Matilda Tanner, and Matilda is actually a fairly new resident here in Asheville. Lovely photo there. Matilda is actually named after her paternal grandmother, and she's an amazing artist that has moved here. She was born in New Jersey, and she's been an award-winning artist her whole life, actually. Matilda, shown here throwing some pottery, actually really embodies being inspired by your art from a very young age, living your passion fully from a very young age, and sharing that passion with the world just as a way of life since she was a very young girl. So I would like to introduce Matilda to come out here and join us here on the set, and I think we're going to have to adjust our camera setup a little bit, but you have such an amazing background, Matilda. Welcome to Earth Art Network News. Thank you for being here. And Matilda really is an amazing artist in so many different forms and different media. You've got paintings on your website. You have ceramics. The toroidal shape just jumped up. Did you see that? We have to talk about that. That little thing wants to be talked about, so it's really going to be fun.
It's magic.
It is magic. We've talked about it on this show here, the toroidal shape, so that's what that is. Funny, it would jump right up without anyone even touching it. So perfect there. But tell me a little bit about your background that you would share, because you have such a long list of things that I could go on about. But you have basically done an amazing lot of artwork over the years, professionally and as just teaching others and helping others, but also from your own passion. So describe your background so that I don't go on forever. But how would you share your main background with us? Because really, you're quite amazing background.
Oh, thank you. Well, I've been an artist for as long as I can remember. I'm very lucky in that my parents are always very supportive of my artwork. I had a really good school system. I always had tremendous art classes, which is why I always support art programs in public schools, especially free programs. I was introduced to art classes at the Worcester Art Museum by my parents when I was young. And it was a little bit of a tough decision to become an art major in college and to become a professional full-time artist, because a lot of people feel like you can't make money as an artist unless you are Picasso or Rembrandt. But it's really not true. If you're creative and you're passionate and you're really driven, and if you have really good friends and good support, you can make it as an artist. And I feel like I'm blessed to have been able to follow my heart and live and work as an artist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing. You know, a lot of people, they'll go through their life and don't really have the support. And, you know, we've talked about this in prior shows with Don, who will be here later, that support, just that little bit of support, because he's done about 50 years of personal coaching and business coaching. And having that support is such an important part of letting that creative spirit flourish. And so if you maybe haven't had it, know that it can be out there, and you know there's lots of ways to support, or even just supporting yourself and getting out there and being involved in art, or doing something. You say, well, I'm going to start that painting, you know, forever, and then start it. Go ahead and get going on it. But one of the things we were talking about, and the basis for our discussion we mentioned was creative spirit as a way of